In this video, we're going to download, install and configure the IDE, Intellij IDEA, that we're going to be using in this course to write Java programs. Now this video is for a Linux platform, so if you're on another operating system, do refer to the relevant video for your operating system. But if you're on Linux, then open a browser, then you want to go to www.jetbrains.com. Now JetBrains are the people who've created Intellij IDEA. So once we get to that site, click on Tools. Come over here and click on Intellij IDEA. Now Intellij IDEA comes in two versions. If we scroll down and have a look, we can find out some more information about what each version is all about. You can see that we've got an Ultimate Edition here for web and enterprise development and a Community Edition for JVM and Android development. The license type is Commercial for the Ultimate Edition and Open Source for the Community Edition. So effectively what that means is the Community Edition is free. We can confirm that down here. And the Ultimate Edition gives you a trial period. After the trial expires, you'll then need to purchase that software. By default, the Ultimate Edition gives you a 30-day trial. I can extend that by another 90 days to a total of 120 days if you want to try out the Ultimate Edition. But that's your choice. Either one will work. I recommend that the Community Edition is quite acceptable, and everything that we do in this course will work just fine with that edition. So for that reason, I'm going to click on Download for the Community Edition, and I'm going to save that. So it's saved to my download directory, and we'll start that once that's finished. Alright, so as you can see, the download is now complete. So I'm going to come over here and click on the little folder there to open the folder, and we need to decide on a location where we're going to install this. Now, where exactly install it is up to you. What I'm going to do is click on my home folder. I'm going to create a new folder and call it dev, and I'm going to put that in Intellij IDEA as a subfolder from that folder. That's where I'm going to put all my development tools. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go to downloads. I'm going to double click the archive, the tar.gz file to open it. Then I'm going to extract that. I'm going to go back to my home folder, into my dev folder. I'm going to extract it into that folder. I'm going to click on close. I'm going to close down the extractor now. We're finished with that. I'm also going to take the opportunity to close down this screen as well. So we're done with that as well, and the browser. What we're going to do now is go to the command line via a terminal session, and we're going to start Intellij IDEA for the first time via the command line. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to first go into the folder. So I'm going to cd space / dev / I'm going to type I and press tab, and then it'll go into the folder for Intellij automatically. And then I'm going to type cd space bin, and then I'm going to type ls, press enter. And that's now the bin folder which contains the version of Intellij that we want to run. So I'm going to type a period / idea.sh. That's the script to start up Intellij IDEA for the first time. As it's starting up, you can see here that it's asking us whether we want to import Intellij IDEA settings from another location, or do we not want to import settings. I'm going to choose do not import, but if you do have a location where you've installed an installation of Intellij IDEA previously and you want to retain the settings, you would choose that folder and Intellij would automatically restore those settings. But I'm just going to click on OK with the option do not import settings checked. Next, you may or may not get this update. This is the privacy policy that appears, and I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom here and click on accept. Next, we'll get data sharing. I'm going to click on don't send, but if you want to share statistics for some reason, you can choose that. But I'm going to click on don't send. Next, we get to the stage where we're doing some initial customization of Intellij IDEA. You can see this option here gives us Darkula, Intellij IDEA, and GTK+. You've got three styles or themes that you can choose. The one that I generally like is the Intellij one, so that's the one I'm going to select. Keep in mind you can also change these settings later by going into settings, appearance and behavior, and appearance. So I'm going to click on next. So next it's saying, do we want to create a desktop entry to make it easier to start this from the GUI interface? Definitely I want that, so I'm going to leave the default selected there. If for some reason you don't want to do that now, go into Tools and Create Desktop Entries, how you get access to that within Intellij at a later stage. Click on Next. The launcher script can be handy if you're often in the command line and you want to invoke Intellij from the command line or want to open a particular file from the command line. I generally don't do that. I generally just start Intellij and then do all my file navigation and opening of projects within the GUI interface. But if for some reason you want the script, you will check that. I'm going to leave it unchecked and click on Next Default Plugins. Now here we get a list of default plugins that are going to be configured and installed by Intellij. Generally, I suggest you leave this because you can always go ahead and install plugins at your leisure or uninstall plugins within the settings at a later time. So I'm going to leave the default there. Just one quick thing to keep in mind is if you installed the Ultimate Edition, you will find there's a lot more options that are shown on the screen than the ones you can see here. Alright, so I'm going to click on Next. Same deal here with featured plugins. I suggest you leave it as is, but you can select to install them if that's what you want to do. But I'm not going to do anything there. I'm just going to click Start Using Intellij IDEA. So at that point, the basic installation of Intellij IDEA is now complete, but there's a few other things we need to configure. Firstly, we need to configure Intellij IDEA to point it to the Java Development Kit so that it can find the Java Development Kit so that we can create Java programs. So to do that, we're going to click on Configure. We're going to click on Project Defaults. Then we're going to select Project Structure. That brings this screen up, and what we then want to do is come over here. You should find if we click on the drop box, there's no other SDK. So in other words, Intellij IDEA hasn't configured anything. So I'm going to come over here and click on New. Now Intellij IDEA enables you to edit code in a variety of languages. So when we click on New for a project SDK, we need to choose the type. And you may or may not have all these options, or you may even have additional options. I'm going to select JDK since we're configuring Intellij IDEA for Java. Now you notice what happened then. Automatically, Intellij IDEA found our Java 10 installation. And that should generally be the case for you, and you shouldn't need to configure it. So I'm just going to click on OK there. And we've now got Java 10 configured. But if for some reason it wasn't automatically configured, you just need to navigate to the folder where Java 10 was installed and then choose that folder so that the installation can proceed. The other thing we want to do is make sure that SDK default is selected. So that's going to give us full access to the version of the JDK we've installed, 10 in this case. So I'm going to click on OK to that. And we've now configured Intellij IDEA for Java. There's just a few other things that we need to configure before we end the video. So I'm going to come up here and click on Configure. Then we want to click on Settings. Next thing we want to do is come down to Editor, click on this little arrow to the left of Editor, come down here and click on the little arrow to the left of General. Then we want to click on Auto Import. You want to make sure both these options, optimize imports on the fly and also add unambiguous imports on the fly, are both checked. Then we want to come down to Appearance. We want to make sure that Show Line Numbers is checked. Now that's generally the default these days for Intellij IDEA, but it's a good thing to check to make sure that is checked, which it is in this case. Then we want to go to Code Folding, click on that. And we want to deselect a few things here. We want to deselect one-line methods and also deselect closures. And then also generic constructor and method parameters. So what we're doing here is we were stopping Intellij from folding the code or hiding some of the source code from us. The code folding feature can be very useful for experienced developers who want to hide portions of their code. But in our case, because we're just starting out learning Java for the first time, we want to see all our code. So what we're doing is we're turning off those options so that we get to see, instead of the code being folded and hidden, we're going to see everything. We're going to see all our Java code. So once we've done that, we can click on OK. Now I'm going to close down Intellij IDEA. So what I'm going to do is type exit to close down the terminal window. And now that we've installed a desktop entry, we should be able to come over here and type in the first few letters of Intellij, IN in this case, and check that, or click that rather, and you can see that we've now got the ability to install, or to run rather, Intellij IDEA from one click of the mouse. Alright, so that's our installation complete. Let's now move on to the next video. We're going to start taking a look at Intellij. Specifically, we're going to start creating a Java program. So I'll see you in the next video.